Let's also welcome another expert, Madam Deepika. Please, Deepika, please come in. Deepika P. is currently the professor of practice at International School of Business and Media, currently with finance specialization. She has 12 years of experience spanning across the industry and academia. She has also served as a judge for startups in international competitions. Welcome, madam. We have Dr. Rajesh Kumar. Welcome, sir. Madam Deepika. Madam, there is something called fraud, financial fraud detection. Could you throw some light upon how this AI is trying to get into a place wherein frauds are happening and detecting that fraud becomes very, very difficult? Like, for example, for us to save our day is every day's issue. We mean business. But for a hacker, it's only one day. If he is lucky for one day, it's enough. He can make, a big business. So how do you think this really happens?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting topic because it is something that almost all of us have experienced in some way. Either some courier service has frauded you, or some online, some wrong, or credit card is the green zone for the hackers, I would say. But let me take a step back and think about what AI can do and cannot do, and then I will come to answering how frauds are prevented and detected, because as Mr. Arvind initially said, that risk mitigation is where AI was like really introduced. So when we think about, yes, AI is doing a lot for us, technology has advanced very, very fast and to a very high degree, but there are still many things it can do. Let me give you an example. Suppose there is a small child, maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe 5 years old child. If you show the child a dog, just a simple dog, next time the child can recognize the dog. Even if it's a different color, if it's a different shape or size, if it's a different breed. But when you have to train a machine, which is what we call machine learning, literally, you have to input, as they rightly talked about, huge quantities of data. So you have to show multiple pictures of the dog in different shapes, different size, puppy, different color, with hair, without hair, big eyes, small eyes, moving the tail, not moving the tail. So much so data has to be input to the system, and then the machine will learn, then yes, this next time when you show it and make it identify whether the incoming individual is a dog, the machine, you're hoping with certain level of confidence, will be able to accurately identify it. So AI is somewhat far away from these kind of things. Obviously, storing this kind of data requires, a lot of storage space, cost, etc., which has considerably come down, which is where the, technology, which was a contribution why the technology moved fast. So that is one aspect of it. How do they collect so many data points? I'm sure all of you, when you go on Google, you must have seen one page where it tells you, identify the traffic lights, identify the motorcycles. When it says that, okay, maybe I don't feel comfortable with where you are accessing this page from, they will make you do something. That is, you are the person who is identifying the traffic light. You are the individual who's making the machine learn. Okay? So all of your inputs get stored into the database. Database keeps on, the interesting part is eventually the machine starts self-improvising. So maybe it was not able to identify a traffic light earlier, but with so many people hitting the traffic light buttons, next time it will be able to identify it. Now coming to, so when we say that the AI cannot, recognize just with one data point a dog, what can it do? Very, very beginning we talked about calculations. So all the calculations, the high-speed computers, that was definitely a point where AI started working in. So calculations was really the starting point of it. From there, it started shifting to something known as choice making. So if I have to choose between, I don't really have to recognize between, multiple options, but I just have to choose between A, B, C, D. That is something a machine started doing. So it is still very far away from, definite decision making, but choice making is what machines started doing. From there, it moved, and what we now see in the form of chatbots, conversations. So all your, grammatical errors, lot of, web articles are now automatically written, which is one of the applications of natural language processing, that they were able to read what is being spoken in natural language, Hindi, English, Kannada, whichever, and they were able to convert it into an output for mass consumption. So all these various kind of conversations where chatbots could automatically respond, again, how do you train these chatbots? By using lots and lots of, for the same question, lots and lots of answers, and the next time some query comes, the chatbot will be able to, almost with certain certainty, certain confidence intervals, be able to give a right answer. Once all of these things happen, why did we not automate medical sciences? If the AI was able to do so many things, you still need a doctor. There are very advanced medical equipments, but you still need a surgeon to really do the surgery, right? So it has become a partner, but not really a replacement. From there, the concept of error detection and rectification started coming into being. And that is one of the big areas of fraud detection. Most often than not, suppose there is a credit card, fraud happening. How will AI identify it? They go through your past shopping history. They go through what you might have shopped in the past, which stores do you go to, which locations do you go to, typically how much is the amount that you spend. Suppose you go to a restaurant, every day you're spending about 500 rupees, but the next time the bill is about 1200, AI will say this is a behavior that is not normal because of all the history or the learning that it has stored in the past. Suppose you are traveling and you go to a different city, it's a different location, it's the same store, same, your Udupi restaurant, but it is not in Bangalore, it is in Mysore. The system will sort of try to detect it as out of the normal behavior and then say that, okay, let us, block this transaction, let us call the person, verify that they are indeed traveling, and they are trying to shop something at so and so location. If they verify it, then the transaction goes through, otherwise not. Of course, this is a very simple, very everyday example of this. More and more sophisticated applications of fraud detection occur in, say, online trading. So trading of particularly foreign exchange currencies is something that is a 24 hours business, and bankers will agree with me. I also have past financial services experience. So there are by choice programs, quantitative programs that are made to place the trade automatically, execute the trade automatically, just so that it is more profitable. But how do you know that this is a legit trader, transacting from a legit account, millions of dollars, and not a hacker who's trying to just, sort of find a loophole, get themselves into the network and take advantage of the situation. So these are the ways in which AI really, in a from as small as a simple credit card failure to something very serious as, trading out of a portfolio, automated trading, where they can, detect first and then hopefully rectify the error by blocking it. And that is where, the encryption part and the blockchain part starts entering.